Søren Kierkegaard said, "There are two ways of being fooled. 1. To believe what is not true. 2. To refuse to believe what is true." All the arguments put forward here boil down to one issue. Does the Earth move against a background of stationary stars? Or is the Earth still and the stars moving? In the 17th and 18th centuries, scholars and scientists were beginning to accept the heliocentric model as factual, and astronomers were anxious to find an experiment that provided concrete evidence the Earth was moving. One solution appeared in the early 17th century by James Bradley, the British Astronomer Royal. His theory was that if the Earth was moving in orbit around the Sun, then the stars being still could be seen as a point of reference. If a particular star was chosen, for example Gamma Draconis, this star could serve as the anchor point. The Earth takes 1 year to make an orbit of the Sun, so if he plotted the apparent position of the star in relation to the Earth's movement in orbit, logically then, the plotted points would form a small circle or ellipsoid, a sort of reflection of the Earth's orbital movement. Bradley set up a telescope pointing up vertically to see the star, and expected over time, as the Earth moved in orbit, the line of sight of the star would fall out of vision, so the telescope had to be tilted to keep the stationary stars in sight as the Earth moved. Logically, he believed the telescope would have to be tilted several times. Bradley's experiment was hailed as a success and claimed to be one of the major appendixes of heliocentricity to this day. But European astronomers were later thinking that Bradley's evidence was tenuous and threadbare, and that there must be a better way to determine once and for all that the Earth moves in orbit around the Sun. Astronomers and scientists in Europe, however, were not happy with Bradley's experiment, believing the evidence to prove the Earth was moving tenuous and sketchy. Roger Joseph Bošković, a Serbian theoretical astronomer, tried to reproduce Bradley's experiment, but using a water-filled telescope. This, he believed, would bend the starlight by refraction and slow down the light so the telescope would not need to be tilted as the Earth moved. In 1866, George Bedell Airy, Astronomer Royal, repeated Bošković's experiment using a water-filled telescope. Airy followed an accepted scientific methodology to the letter, and the records are still available to this day. Scientists and astronomers eagerly awaited Airy's results, and were expecting the experimental, concrete evidence that Earth moves. But Airy's result was not what was expected, and the experiment was dubbed Airy's failure, because he could not show progressive tilt of the telescope as the Earth moved. Airy followed up on Bradley's work to prove